Good morning. Uh, Today I'll be talking about CSS, which means cascading style sheets. So these what we'll be using to customize our HTML pages. So HTML is just like creating a skeletal framework of our page, but it is not the work of CSS to actually modify some certain settings, some certain property, let me put it like that, of our HTML pages. For example, the page that we have created before, the HTML form. So for us to be able to customize it to our own taste, as we can see on the screen right now, the default color for any text on HTML is color black, but that might not be what we want to use in another case, because we will want our page to look exactly the way we want. So that is where CSS now comes in. For you to be able to write CSS, there are three ways of writing CSS. Number one is through inline CSS. Number two is through internal CSS, and the third one is external CSS. So now let me just try and talk about the first one, which is the inline CSS. As the name implies, inline CSS means that we'll be putting the CSS properties inside our HTML elements. When I talk about the HTML elements, I'm talking about the tags. For example, the h3 inputs, paragraph tag, and every other element that you can see on your page. So those are what we call elements. And you can put it like, for example, now this h3 that contains our first name here, we might decide to alter some properties of it in such a way that let's just try and change the text color from the default black that is here to another color. For example, let's say color red. CSS always follow a particular approach when you are dealing with inline CSS. Number one, you create a parameter under the element. So you call it style, which will now be equals to, then you put a quote there that will contain the properties. So now the only thing that we just need to do, okay, we want to modify the color, right? So we just press color, then we put colon, then after that we now specify the particular color that we are going to use. We have different color codes, we have different color formats. Some are RGB, you can specify it as RGB, in RGB format, and the other one is that you can specify the color directly, it can accept it. For example, let's say you want to set the property to color blue, you can just say color, you just say blue, then you terminate it. If you still want, okay, now let me just save it, let me save it. Let me cancel this out. So let me save it, then come back to our page to refresh it. Then I refresh. As you can see, the color has changed from black to blue. If we want another color, the only thing we just need to change it here is, okay, we put yellow here, we save, then we come back here, then you can see that the text has turned to yellow without modifying the colors of the other elements that you can find there. As you can see, the last name, the select your favorite food, and all other elements that you can find there, everything still remains unchanged. So that is how to reference CSS inline. When we are now talking, let me cancel this out so that there will be, so that the change can actually be effective. Let me save it back like this. Then you can see that everything is back to normal. So after that, let's talk about the second way of accessing CSS in our document. The second way is through using the style tag. Body is a tag, HTML is a tag, head is a tag. So we also have the style tag too, and professionally you can put it inside the head section, so which probably will come after the title. So here I just put the style tag, style, the type is text as CSS. No, you don't need this, though if you put it there it doesn't have any particular meaning about it, but you can actually put it or leave it. So I'm just trying to demonstrate how it will always looking like, so that it will be looking like all those elements that we have been creating in the past. So as you can see, the style to it has a beginning here, it has an opening, and we also have a closing style tag here too. So then it will now be inside it that we are going to be modifying the elements property, but there is a way of doing that. There's a way around using the internal CSS. Number one, you have to make sure that each element actually stands out, except if you want to alter for every element inside the document. For example, now when I was using the first name property inline styling type the other time, you can see that I embedded it inside the h3 here by typing style is equal to, then I put the property here, which means that automatically it is going to affect only the first name here. But if I want it to affect all others, I can just specify that, okay, I want to alter the styles of all h3. As you can see here now, let me try and highlight h3 here. This is h3, this is another h3, this is another h3. If I want to alter the property of all h3 there, the only thing that I just need to do is that I will just put h3 here like this inside our style tag, then curly brace, open and close it, then I will just put, okay, the color property, then I can just set the color to color green. So don't forget, as we have done inside the elements with the inline CSS, it also follows the same format. It is each property is terminated by a semicolon. So like this, you specify the property, you put a colon, then the property name, like you specify the property, then you specify the value, then you terminate it with a semicolon. So that's the general format of doing styling in CSS. So now with this, let me just go ahead and save it, then come back to our document and refresh. Why is it not affecting it? Why? Okay, it's actually there. Everything has turned to color green, but the green is not looking green like that. So let me use a very sharp color so that you can actually see what we are doing. So let me change it to blue. Let me change it to blue. You can see here blue is actually showing very well, and as you can see, it is only elements that has h3. All the h3 elements are being affected here. The first name here is h3, last name here is h3, select your favorite food here is h3, sex here is h3, and date of birth here too is h3. So there are a lot of other properties that you can do. So let's say there's a property called font size. So you can set it to large or larger. Let's see, you can see that it came a little more out than before. I think you should be able to set the size to in pixel. Let's see. You can see pixel is a unit that we use in CSS, like all these centimeter, meter. So we use pixel in CSS. Okay, you want the font size. Okay, I want it a little more bolder than before. I want it big than all other things. Okay, let me just set it to 50. Then, like, everything means that you are in control. You are in control of everything that you are doing. If you want a particular size, you change it. If you want a smaller size, you decrease it. Let's say 5 pixels now. Let's see what is going to happen. You can see we are no longer seeing the text again because it is too small. But let me just put it at 15 pixels. Then go back to sorry, let me put it back to 15 pixel. Okay, I think it's looking more better now. There are lots of properties that you can manipulate. Background color, background. You can see when I type background, it is giving me some what's it called, some suggestion. Background visibility, background attachment, background clip, background image, background repeat, background size. But in what I am trying to do right now, I want to manipulate the background color. So let's just try and see any color that will work better for this. Okay, let me say the background color is black. So I can change it to black, then save it, then come back here again. You can see that the background color has actually changed. So we can also have the width property. You can say width is equals to let's say 200 pixel. If you don't want it to go extra mile like this, you can just limit it to, let's say, like the middle of the document. So I save it like this, then I refresh it. You can see it's looking more tiny. So you are in control of everything that you are doing. Let me just increase the font size a little. Let me put it to 35. Then you see that it will look more better like this. You can see that it is now a little different from the default one that we can see on the document before, the HTML skeletal framework that has been created for us. So you can see that it is a little more better than before now, and also you can see that it is affecting all H3. There is a way that we can actually do it in such a way that, okay, it's only the first name that we want to alter the property. We don't want to alter the property of last name, and we don't want to use inline, because if we use inline for long properties, it is going to make our code look more clumsy. Because, okay, well, the first stage one, we write the properties inside. It is like 10 properties that we are going to see. All what we have here is just 4 property. There are sometimes that you will have like 10 property for a particular element. So just imagine putting everything inside each line. It will not be looking good. But there is a way of doing that. The way is that we will give each element, we will give them a name. When we are talking about naming inside CSS, we use two notation. We have the ID notation and we have the class notation. ID notation and the class notation. So when we are talking about the ID, there is a way. So if we want to give this element, for example h3 notation, if we want to give it a name ID, we just put this as a parameter there. We say ID is equals to, then quotation. You can name it anything, you are in control. You can say my first name here. So just save it. It is not going to affect anything right now because you have not you are still specifying that all h3 should be affected by the properties of background color black and color blue. Yeah. But the only thing, there are some other way that you can do when you want to reference using the only thing, okay, let me create another property. When you want to access using ID, use hashtag. When you want to access using class, you use the dots. You use dots. So for example, now as I've used hashtag, as I've used ID here, which means that I will use hashtag so that CSS can understand that, oh, this person is trying to refer to the ID that he has created. So just put hashtag and you write hashtag the name of our ID, my first name. So then you create it like the one that we have here. As you can see, I will use curly brace after naming it. So now the property, let's say you don't want color blue for this one. Now you can say I want color white. Okay, color white. So let's save it like this. Then I will refresh. As you can see, this one is now standing out from the rest of them. It is now standing out from the rest because this one has turned to color white and the other ones are still color blue. I can still say that, okay, I want its own width to be a little more bigger than the rest. I can say width instead of 200 pixel that I use for the rest, I can say 500 pixel for that one. So there are other things that you can see. It is looking more bigger than the other one. So then apart from that, let me try and center the text. There's a way you center text with CSS. There's a property called the text align. You just write text align, you put colon, then you put center. You save it, then you can see it has actually put the text in the center. The other ones, they are still at the left, but this one is at the center. You can put it at the right side. So it depends on what you are actually doing. Everything you are in control. It depends on what you are actually doing and what you intend to achieve. That will determine the kind of property that you are going to use. Let me try and talk about padding and margin too. They are also example of properties that you can alter. Padding means that the spaces, okay, look at this text here, first name. The space between the black at the top and the black at the bottom is not big, right? So padding means that you want to generate space around the first and last name, around the content. You want to generate space around the content. Okay, just look at it like a container now. So you want to generate space both up, down, top and both up, down, right and left. You want to generate a little space. Let me just try and put the property, then you will see what it is actually doing. Padding. So padding, you can have padding top, padding bottom, padding right, padding left. So padding actually has different places, but if you choose ordinary padding like this, padding, let's say 10 pixel, it means that you want to generate a space of 10 pixel up, 10 pixel down. But if it's initially specified that okay, padding left 10 pixel, it is going to generate a space around the left only. So now let me save it. Let me save like this, then let me refresh. You can see there is now a space. There is a space now, like more like before that the space is little. So it has generated a little space right, left, up and down. So that is the work of padding. So when we are not talking about margin, it is talking about the spaces that are outside this black area, outside the black area. Like now, the spaces before, you can see okay, please enter your first name. Those spaces between the right, the spaces that you can find under the nav bar here and before you see the element. So those spaces is what you call margin. So margin is the spaces that is outside, padding is the spaces that is inside. So while we have margin top, bottom, left and right, like also like the padding too, we also have margin like that. So but if we just specify like this margin and we put 20 pixel, you see what will happen now. You can see you see that the spaces are actually altered. Or if I put okay 50 pixel, 50, you can see that it has generated space. If I put 100 pixel, you can see it has generated spaces down. The reason that you are not seeing it showing very well is that the scroll is here. So if I put okay, let me return it back to 10. Look, you can see it's at 10 like this. If I put 20, you see what will happen. Let me scroll up. You can see if I put 50, okay, you can see it is, the space is a little bit better than how it was before. So if you want to continue altering properties, then you should you keep editing it to your own taste. You keep editing to your taste. Okay, now if you want to move others too, like if you want to do for this last name now, the only thing that you just need to do, okay, this property is talking about okay, any element that has the ID of my first name, Abby, right? So the only thing that you want to do here for this one to also inherit that same property is just to put my first name, or you can name it my last name. If you name it my last name, it is not going to affect anything. It is not going to affect anything unless you come to the property here, and put comma, then hashtag my last name, which means that my first name and my last name will contain this property that is inside this curly brace. So that's what it's saying. So if I save it, or it's not working yet, okay, S is there because all those things, if you put S, it is having another meaning. If you don't put S, it will also have another meaning. So you can see this one too has also inherits that same property. You can see it's looking more, the page is looking more fancy like this. So if I name this one as ID, my favorite food, let me name this ID, my sex, ID, my DOB. So the only thing I just need to put here is hashtag my DOB, hashtag, okay, hashtag my favorite food. Let me see if I have actually, okay, it remains the sex. Okay, hashtag my sex. Then bam, you can see that it is looking more better like this. You can see. Let me just try and remove the margin part of it. I don't want too much spaces there. You can see. You can see. So let's just assume that I put the input to also take the property. Let's see what will happen. Input, because input is okay, let me create another tag, another CSS property for input. I'll just, you can see that I'm writing it outside the curly brace, at the end of the curly brace. So let me just say input. I want to create, this means that I'm creating for all inputs. I'm not using a particular name or ID. See here, this h3, it means that I'm creating for all h3, any elements called h3. See, this one is h3, it will affect it. But here, the one that I'm, okay, let me delete what I've done concerning h3 before. Let me delete them because they are no longer relevant again. Wait, okay. There are particular colors. Okay, font size. I've removed the font size property. I've removed the font. Okay, and the background color. Let me put the properties here. Let me put these two properties here so that I can actually eliminate this. So you can see that it's looking the same way as before. So now it is remaining the input that I am going to alter now. It is the input. So what do you think I'm going to do? Okay, let's just say I want the width to be of the same width as this one. I use 500 for the first name, last name, and the likes. So let me use 500 for it too. I'll just say width 500 pixel. You see now that the width is now 500 pixel. So apart from that, what other thing that I can do? Let me pad it. Let me put padding. Padding should be 10 pixel too. Let's see. You can see the padding tool is now looking good, except all these radio button and checkbox that is not looking good. So I will still modify their own property too. So what next? Let me set the margin top, margin 0. Let's see what will happen. Nothing is happening with their margin. So apart from that, What do you think? I think all those ones are looking good, unless I'm just going to pad it a little more. So oh no, this is big, this is too big, this is too big. So 15. Now 15 has gone beyond, so let's just stick to the 10, unless we want to put padding top. Let's use padding top. Let's say 25 pixel. You can see I think it's more better like this. It is more better. Padding bottom, I want to generate space at the bottom, so padding bottom 25 pixel. You can see like it's looking more better like this, right? So the only thing that is not looking good on this is the what's it called, is the text, is the select your favorite food and the sex that is not looking good here. And what do you think we can do? The only thing that we can do right now is that let's go and give this tag, let's go and give them name. Or we just use inline CSS to reduce their width. It is their width that is too much. That is why they are overflowing like this. So what do you think we'll do? We just come here. We can give it an ID too. ID, let's say male. ID female. No. Let's say the ID is SCX. Then the ID is XCS too. So what's next? This checkbox, let's call this one ID food. ID food, so that we can actually change their width all at once. ID food. So the only thing that I just need to do is that I'll come here and just say hashtag sex, hashtag food. Then I want their width to be 0. Let's try 0. You can see that they are back. But width of that won't be good. Let's just say their width is 200. No, 20 pixel. Let's see 20. You can see that it is looking more better like this. This is looking like a very good form. If we give anybody to fill this out now, it will look good. Okay, our first name, you put your first name here. Last name, you put your last name. Then you select any of these. Then here you go here and use select any of it. Okay, you come here, you select your date of birth. Then you submit. Okay, now it remains this submit button that we are going to change the property. So let's come to submit button and give it a name too. Yeah, now let me use class. I've been using ID. Let me use class submit. So you can name it anything. You can say my submit button. You can name it anything. You can name it S. You can name it any names that comes to your mind. Just name it. So it will still be under this style tag. Before I close the style tag, this is it. So instead of using hashtag, I'll now use dot submit. It will be dot submit. Then you can say background color. You can say black. Let's see. It's black now, but it's not blacking. Okay, the color. Can say the color is white. Yeah. Then the color means the text color. The background color means the background color. So let's see how it's going. It's looking like this. You can see it's looking more fancy. unless we just want to make it look like the other ones here. Make it look like the other ones here. Let's make it look like the other ones here. So instead of us just creating another one here, so we can say, oh, come and assume the property that we have set for my first name, my last name. So instead of just using hashtag, we are going to use dot submit. You can see, you will see what will happen now. You see, you can see, you can see. So it's looking more finer, it's looking more good. It's still looking like a button, so it's looking like a button. So now the only difference about, I've talked about the inline, I've talked about the internal, but I have not made mention of external CSS. I have not made mention of external CSS. What you do is that you create another file apart from the file that you are writing your code, and you name it with an extension of the CSS. Okay, let me create another file. Control. Okay, I'm creating another file here. Then I'm saving it on the desktop here, and I'm saving it as style.css. If it's HTML, I save it as .html. If it is CSS, I'll save it as .css. Then I save it like this. When I come back to my desktop, you can see this is it. This is it. This is my file here called practice, and this is my style here. So once I open, once I what's it called? Once I come back here, you can see this style and this is practice. So instead of me now putting all this code, because these things too it will increase the number of lines that is inside my document, just cut it out like this. You cut it out. Don't cut, you would not cut the style, so you cut it. You can see that it remain the empty style here. I delete the style, then come back inside the style, the CSS that we have created. You save it. You save it, then refresh like this. You see that the properties are no longer there. It has come back to the HTML that we have actually created before. But how do you now link your current document with the CSS file? So what you do is that you come here under the head tag, under the head tag, after this title. I'm coming, let me just scroll up a little so I can see what I'm doing. So you create the link property. The link, just type link. This is what you are going to type. So under this href is where you are going to specify the location of your CSS file. But since it's on the same, inside the same folder, all you need, that's why it's good to put them inside the same folder. So all you need to do is just to specify the name, then the extension. Just type style.css. So then you save it, then you come back here to refresh. You can see that the properties are back. They are back. You can see that instead of you having a whole bunch of lines of code, you can actually have a limited code, instead of you having like thousands of lines of code on a single page. But with the help of external CSS, you can actually create a file for your CSS so that your page will be readable and it won't be looking clumsy anytime that you want to visit your page again. So I think I have been able to touch some little parts of styling, while we'll still go more deeper, because CSS is very wide. It's very wide. Then we will still go more deeper inside the CSS. So thank you very much for listening.